Pardon the interruption. I've been getting a shitload of spam calls on my phone lately. You know, you sign one petition as a class action lawsuit against the school you went to, and then you get called 24/7 from like everywhere in the country. I mean, I'm glad I don't have creditors calling me as I'm trying to read The Training of an English Gentleman, but regardless, it is annoying. So, we left off with Roger gagging on Grub's clitty. Somehow he's gagging on it. Frig me, you slut, hissed my mistress. Come on, do me on my clitty. I felt Grub's arm move, and then my mistress's body began to sway as she pinioned me, and she moaned, "Oh yes, do my clitty, you dirty bitch." "Missed," said Dido again, in mild surprise. Dear, dear. I must have taken over 40 strokes with the birch, and my bare mates were on fire with pain. And yet, my balls still were untouched. "This time," said Dido, panting harshly as she herself masturbated in time with my flogging. "This time." The birch swished and landed on my balls, but in mockery, crueler than any whip stroke. She laughed as she gently tickled my straining ball sack with the tips of the birch. This was followed by a flurry of strokes to my bare bum that had me squealing and writhing. Then there was another tickle of my balls, and one to the bulb of my cock, and then another flurry to the bum. "You naughty, naughty boy," she murmured. "We must have proper law and order." I felt Grub writhe on my face. My mistress, too, groaned as her clitty was diddled. Sexy word choice there. There was a pause in the birch strokes, and Dido herself pressed her naked, sopping coo's lips to my balls, sitting hard on them and squashing them as she writhed on my ball sack, pressing her clitty against me in sharp, deft strokes. One fingertip began to stroke my straining pee-hole, causing me an excruciating tickling in my cock and squished balls, and I whimpered and moaned as I felt my cream rise. Then all three ladies panted more and more harshly. Their several writhings grew fiercer on my trapped body, and I was drenched in their flows of oily, warm coos juice. Dido's finger drummed on my pee-hole. I felt a drop of seed, and then another, and finally I could restrain myself no longer, and my cock throbbed and jerked as I spurted my entire bounty of hot cream all over her waiting fingers. The cargo. His honeyed cargo, as I believe it was once described. My cries, muffled by Grub's squashing buttocks and quim, were joined by the sharp wails of pleasure from each lady as they shuddered on me in their own spasms. At length, I was permitted to rise, dripping and sobbing, to find my ladies demure and smoothing their robes, inspecting me as though I were some vermin who had crept in. Dido gave me my mistress's panties to wipe myself of my shame. When I had done so, I knelt and kissed my mistress's shoed and ripe-scented stockinged feet, and handed the garment back to her. She allowed me to kiss and lick her feet for a while in submission, as Dido wondered how my bum had gotten so awfully black. Then my mistress scornfully brushed away my hand, holding the panties. "Oh, that old rag," she cried. "You may dispose of that. I've no use for it." My white tie and tails felt awfully silly as I sat down again for grub to serve pudding. Dido put her lips to my ears and whispered, "She is a very naughty girl. Flossie, I mean. Headstrong, you know. Why, I observed what happened with Grub and you, and her unapproved punishment. We must have words in private, Roger, and discuss how best to discipline the naughty girl. She's too much of a handful for me. A male's hand is needed." I was quite dumbstruck, and could only nod politely. "I did admire you, though," she whispered, "taking it like an Englishman, to indulge the silly harlot." Then she spoke aloud, as Grub committed yet another error and spilt the pudding. "I was most impressed by your honesty, Roger. I mean, confessing that you like to wear ladies' things. Grub, as you see, is quite hopeless, and Mrs. Mantle is a very strict guest. Now I have solved the problem of who shall be maid when she comes to tea." And there endeth Chapter 5, Pink Panties. And as the deft foreshadowing in that final sentence suggests, is that Roger will be donning a French maid's uniform at tea with a new character. So, I mean, the dog pile is on Roger. I mean, it's growing. You know, first it was just Miss Florence, and then it was Miss Florence and Dido, and then it was Miss Florence and Dido and Grub. And now it's going to be Miss Florence, Dido, Grub, and Mrs. Mantle. And I want to say, I haven't read the entire book, but I want to say I remember a scene featuring her, and it was weird. So, I mean, what else would it be, honestly? So, in the next video, I will begin Chapter 6, entitled Maid in Frillies.